Hello, I'm Tyler Shuttlebauer, and today I'm here with Douglas MacArthur, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Joseph Stalin, and Mao Zedong. We're going to get their opinion on war on terror. Hello, Joseph. Thanks for joining us today with your busy schedule.
Yes, quit Stalin and get on with it.
So for my first question, why did you create the Warsaw Pact, and do you think such a pact would help terrorists become stronger?
I created the Warsaw Pact for many reasons, but the most important was solidifying the Iron Curtain I had made protecting Soviet Russia from the capitalist threat. It was also a response to NATO, to show our enemies they were not the only ones who could unite together. As for my second question, no, this would not work for modern terrorists. With them being groups and not actual countries claiming physical land, they couldn't form their own Iron Curtain, making such a pact pointless.
Interesting. So do you think terrorism could possibly take over an entire country, making the country itself a terrorist nation?
No, terrorism isn't a form of government like communism. Terrorists wouldn't know how to run a country, leading them to self-destruct. They offer nothing to poorer countries like communism did, and even if they could control a country, they wouldn't have the domino theory on their side like I did.
These videotapes represent countries that are falling underneath the domino theory. So if terrorism posed a threat to you, would you go about defeating it?
It's quite obvious to me the only way to defeat terrorism is an all-out war against them and to crush their brute force, and nothing less. If anything but that is done to stop these people, it will be a failure. There is no reasoning with them, only defeating them.
Well, thank you for your answers and thank you for being here. Up next we have Mao Zedong.
Oh, hello.
Hello. I have a couple of questions for you.
Alright.
How could the U.S. gain power to stop terrorism?
To gain power, you must do as I do during the Cold War. I gained immense power by getting the support of the poor people. Unlike Chiang Kai-shek, because Chiang Kai-shek is a terrible leader because he had weak leadership and morale. He also relied on other country aid. You must not rely on other country and be dependent on yourself. Encourage illiterate people in your country and your allies' countries to learn to read. Increase food production and make it accessible to all. By doing this, and also resorting to brinkmanship to show your enemy that you mean business. Doing that will help the US and your allies gain power to stop terrorism.
How would you handle a terrorist threat?
I would find the source of the threat. I would attract people into the army with promises of land and make sure the morale of our citizens are very high. By doing this, you will grow your army very large, and you must attack first to show you have no fear and are willing to get the end to protect what you believe in.
Alright, well that wraps up my questions I have for today. Thank you.
No problem.
Here, MacArthur, take a seat and let's begin. What is your opinion on containment?
I think that containment didn't work in the Cold War. It didn't work mostly because communism started to spread to different countries like China and North Korea. The Truman Doctrine and George Marshall's Marshall Plan were sad excuses to combat those damn communists. All they did was pay off stupid poor countries and said they wouldn't be communists. These policies were unsuccessful because Stalin was an aggressive leader, and these policies were used to combat were passive. If they would have attacked him directly and stopped communism from the source, the USSR and other communist nations wouldn't have been such a threat.
Do you think that containment would work against terrorist organizations today?
No. It didn't work in the past and prolonged the Cold War, and it wouldn't work now. Terrorists are not a single country like communist nations were. They are mostly religious groups and require an entirely new policy to combat them.
Do you think that drones are an effective means of fighting the war on terrorism?
Yes. They don't risk any of our own soldiers, but they still destroy the enemy. Drones are also send a strong message to other terrorists. They let them know that we will kill them by any means necessary. Most of the time, they don't even know what happened until it's too late, giving them no time to react. I do find drones an effective means to fighting terrorism.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hello, Mr. Eisenhower.
Hi.
Thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
What is your opinion on how we should investigate terrorists now compared to back in time during your presidency? Should we create a modern-day HUAC? Also, if the Rosenbergs were investigated as terrorists today, would they have the same fate?
No, I think that the HUAC accused people wrongly, and with modern technology and the aid of the internet, we could better investigate suspected terrorists. without creating controversy. If the Rosenbergs were investigated today, their fate would be different. I think they would be proven innocent. In the future, it will always be innocent until proven guilty.
Should the U.S. create a doctrine like the Eisenhower Doctrine to protect another part of the world from terrorism?
Yes, I feel that my Eisenhower Doctrine was very effective in the fight against communism, and such a doctrine today would be effective against terrorists today.
Could you deal with terrorist leaders like Khrushchev?
No, I couldn't, because Khrushchev wouldn't negotiate anything, and he was very crude and mean.
Interesting. Well, we're out of time, but thank you for joining us today.
Rest in peace, young nigga. There's a heaven for you. Be alive if I told you that I never thought of that. My niggas, we the last ones left. But life goes on. How many brothers fell victim to the streets? Rest in peace, young nigga. There's a heaven for you. Be alive if I told you that I never thought of that. My niggas, we the last ones left. Life goes on.